Welcome back. Before you sit down to plan your New Year's resolutions or set those goals for January, I was hoping first you'd sit with me and pause for a moment. Because maybe you're coming into this thinking, I failed my 2025 goals, or I only completed half of them, or I don't even know what I'm doing in the new year with my goals. Because I don't believe that people fail goals because of a lack of drive or motivation or care for them. They pick those goals, so obviously they set them on purpose, right? I think it's because we set goals and we don't come back to them and we don't make a plan for when life gets messy. So today, join me by my Christmas tree. I have some notes and I'm ready to dive in if you are. All right, so my children are out with my husband and I have a minute in the living room alone. So I want to go through goal setting for the new year in a soft season because I used to plan New Year's resolutions and I used to fail New Year's resolutions. And now, if you're new here, you may not know that I am a productivity and accountability coach, as well as a photographer and a mom and a wife. But I talk goals all the time with clients. I help them set goals, I help them stick with their goals, and I help them celebrate their goals. And I have learned a lot over the last 10 or so years coaching clients on goal setting and then helping them with follow through because I'm an accountability coach. Because of this, I feel like I can come in and give you perspective on goal setting in the new year, maybe differently than you used to do it, because I don't believe in hustle culture. I don't believe in go big or go home. There is a season for everything. And maybe sometimes your season is a season of pushing goals as hard as you can to reach that finish line. And sometimes it's a soft season. And that's where I am in my life right now. And maybe you are too. So I'm glad you joined me today. So here's my tips and tricks and past in goal setting, but now coming at it from a point of being in a soft season. So I was a bullet journaler for a long time. I loved it. Before I had kids, I had the time to sit down and make my spreads, and it was beautiful and it was so fun. And I would every year make New Year's resolutions in a beautiful spread at the start of a new bullet journal and plan my year so meticulously with all of my hopes and dreams. But the problem is, it would stay in that spread, the maybe one, maybe 2 page spread that said big goals for 2020, whatever. I wouldn't come back to them. They were big picture goals. They were sometimes audacious goals. Sometimes they were very just realistic, actionable, easy goals like read 25 books in a year. But the problem is that I didn't have a system for zooming back in, checking on those goals, and making sure that when life got messy, I was still hitting my goals, that I was still on track to get to the end of the year with completion. So when my life got busy or something happened and changed in my life, the goals would fall off my mind. I would forget about them. I'd be flipping through my bullet journal, making a new spread for July or August, and realize that this goals checklist, this New Year's resolutions list, was at the beginning, and I hadn't done anything on most of my goals. But instead of thinking, wow, my goals must need adjusting, or what can I do from here, I would just think there must be something wrong with me. I set these goals, I want these goals, but I don't ever accomplish all of my goals. Sometimes I'd hit a few of them. Sometimes I'd be really consistent. It would be great. But there were always goals that I didn't complete. And the more we don't complete our goals, the more that builds up over time. We start to lose trust in ourselves that we can ever complete something that we say we want to. It can build shame and guilt, and you're not alone in that. I was there. And I coach clients every day who have been there. So, first of all, just know you're not alone. If you felt guilty about missing out on goals, on not completing goals, on having rough seasons where suddenly you look back and realize you didn't do anything you actually wanted to do this year, you're not alone. So, what do I say as a coach? As a coach, I come in And I say, goals don't fail because you lack drive. They fail because you don't have a system that supports a messy life. I think goals fail because life overwhelms us. And I think that's natural. And I think that's okay. And I don't think it's something that can always be avoided. Because when things are calm and everything's going according to plan, routines feel easy. But what if your kid ends up in the ER, or someone loses a job, or suddenly work asks you to take this unplanned trip and you're gone and you miss out on your gym routine for an entire week and it throws you off? What if you're like me and sleep starts to fall apart and you're deep in sleep deprivation because your toddler doesn't want to sleep at night anymore? Suddenly, everything shifts. Our life shifts, our routines shift, our priorities shift. And the problem isn't that these goals we set stopped mattering. The problem is that we don't go back and shift them with our life shift. So when I'm coaching, I constantly am telling my clients that they need to keep these goals in the forefront of their mind and they need to check in constantly to make sure the goals still align with how life is going. I think my biggest coaching point and wisdom that I give my clients: expect life to get messy. Expect there to be a shift. Do not expect that you will set New Year's resolutions or January goals and you will be able to accomplish January through December without one thing changing. Let's just put that expectation aside, because I have never once in over 100 clients seen that to be the case. So, what can change your goal setting moving forward? What can be the new way to set goals? Well, that is what I'm here to tell you from a soft season perspective. So obviously, not all of my clients are in their soft season. Some of them are really pushing. They have big, hairy, audacious goals that they're really going for, and they're not doing slow living and simple living. And that's okay. But from my soft season, which you might need to hear right now, I truly believe that goals just need a rhythm of checking back in with them. That, as I say in the beginning of most of my YouTube videos, we need to be softer with ourselves, kinder with our goals, gentler. And for me, that looks like breaking that yearly goal into monthly goals, which then I can break into weekly and sometimes daily tasks. This way, every month when I sit down with my planner, I have that yearly goal up here, but I've broken it down into monthly focus goals. And I know exactly what my focus is for that month. And then I can break that down into weekly tasks that I put into my planner to push me forward towards my goal. So this sounds simple, right? You check in, you set it in your planner. But what if life gets messy? That's when we are softer with ourselves, but we have this rhythm of checking in on our goals and breaking our goals down into smaller pieces that is now going to support us in the messy time. Because obviously, if life is shifting, our goals have to shift. But if we have this monthly focus to look at that reflects back to our yearly goal, we know exactly how much we've already done and what we have coming up. And now we can just shift those monthly goals back. We can move them while life is moving. If life is overwhelming and we need a pause or a pivot, we can take it. We don't have to quit. In this way, goals stop feeling fragile and they stop getting forgotten. There's something that can change with us. Because if we expect them to be something that is a steady, static presence, they're not going to be able to bend with our life. I don't want you to feel like you have to start from scratch every time you fail at a goal, because it's not really failing. Unless you truly quit, you haven't failed the goal. If something goes sideways, you adjust the plan. And to me, this is huge because real life does not run on a perfect plan. So, what does this look like? Let's say you want to read 52 books. I'm just going to use that because 52 weeks. You want to read 52 books for the year. So, each month, you know you have to read 4 books. And then you can decide, this is a heavier month, This is a lighter month. Maybe this month I read 3 and this month I read 5. What if something happens in March and your routines change and you miss 2 weeks of reading books and now you're 2 weeks behind? Well, you've been checking into that number every month as you're setting your planner to keep yourself on track for the rest of the year. And you know, those 2 weeks, which is 2 books, now have to just be slotted elsewhere at the end of the year. Maybe your October is not very busy. Or maybe you know that in December, everything gets cozy and warm and you love to sit and read, and you usually fly through like 7 books anyways. Pop those 2 that you missed, put them in December. But the most important piece of advice that I can give you, especially coming from a soft season, is that if life is going to throw you a curveball, and it's a big curveball that you never expected, it is okay to let a goal go. There's a quote by Bill Gates that I both love and have been hearing quite a bit lately as we end the year, and I'm in a lot of productivity accountability circles. This idea that we overestimate what we can do in a year and we underestimate what we can do in 10. Maybe you overestimated your time. Maybe there was a curveball. Maybe this year is not the year for 10 goals. Sometimes we put too much on our plates, and it's not because we're being unrealistic, it's because we're being hopeful. So we're overestimating what we can get done. We feel that drive, that motivation, that beginning of the year energy, and we're like, yeah, I can hit 10 goals. This will be great. But maybe we can't. Maybe life has a few curveballs coming your way, and you don't know it yet. And that's okay to let a goal go. When you have to check back in and constantly be aware of those yearly goals because you're looking at them every single month as you set your planner, you can decide if it's time to let one go, if it's time to move it to next year, if it's no longer serving you. It's okay to give yourself grace in the middle of the year. Just because you said you wanted to do it in January doesn't mean it still aligns with your life, your time, your energy, or your goals for the rest of the year. And I think that gives us credit for paying attention, because how many people can reflect mid-year and truly know what goals still align with their path in life? I think you should give yourself credit for that. You should be okay with that and don't take it as failure or quitting. Maybe it's not for this season, and maybe it is for a different one. So, as you're setting goals this January, before you set those goals, I hope you watch this all the way through, because I want you to do a few things differently if you're in a softer season. Maybe instead of 10 goals, choose 4 or 6. It doesn't have to be a huge list. It doesn't have to be perfect for social media. It doesn't have to be a round number. You can choose 3 if that's what you know you can fit in for the next year. Number 2, I want you to think where they fit realistically throughout the year. Not every goal that we set in January has to be attended to instantly. Because we're setting those monthly focus points throughout the year, we can take a goal and move it till spring. Maybe a goal is to create a new cleaning routine and you want to have a spring clean and a fall declutter. And that's something that you don't need to address right now. But because you're creating monthly focus areas, you know exactly when they're going to fit into your year. So you're not rushing to get it done. You're not feeling the pressure of it in January, and you've given it the space in your life. I also want you to leave margin in your goals, in your months, in the year, because things might happen. Life might get messy. You might find that there's a month where you have to be so soft and gentle with yourself because mentally you just can't handle life. Because I've been there. And so it can be great to set a goal that actually has margin space in the year so you can pivot and shift and move it around. And lastly, I don't want you to feel like it's wrong to add goals later. You can start with 3 goals in January and hit May and realize that you're actually doing really well in all of them and you still have motivation and nothing has gone wrong and you're getting closer to the end than you thought, and add more goals. There's technically nothing special about January 1st or a Monday, a new year. It doesn't matter. You can set goals whenever you want to set goals. Time isn't actually linear in the sense that January to December is our only timeline to start and finish a goal. January 1st just gives us a collective moment to pause, to think about what we want for the year ahead. And in that moment, you can totally choose to set 3 goals and then choose June to reassess and add more. So take this momentum, take this drive you might be feeling. You've obviously clicked on this video because you probably think about goal setting. So use that January 1st energy, but remember it doesn't constrain you to only January 1st being a goal month. So really, I want you to head out there and create systems without pressure, to create check-in routines instead of rigid rules for your goals, because then your goals can start working with your life. And maybe this will be the first year where you get to December and feel like you did everything you could to make forward progress on those goals without guilt or shame in how it turned out. So before you choose your goals, sit down, pause, reflect on the year ahead. Think about where your energy is going to naturally ebb and flow. Create a plan for checking back in on those goals. And give yourself the permission to adjust along the way. Because, like I said, it's not about setting them on January 1st and seeing what happens by December. If we can continue to check in and adjust and pivot as life throws curveballs, then our goals can come with us. So thanks for being here with me today. I hope this was helpful. And if you feel like it, pop a comment down below letting me know how you're going to adjust your goal setting this year. Talk to you soon.